Hello kind people of YouTube and welcome back to another video. Today, or rather in this particular video, I just want to talk about some XRP and Whipple related things, because there have been a few things in the news the last couple of days that I haven't yet talked about, and just wanted to put it all into one video. If I find the time, I'll make another video later where I look at other coins, where I look at the general market today. But for now, let's talk about XRP and Whipple a bit. And let's start with this article, because XRP transactions can now be done with Apple's Siri with simple voice commands. XRP continues to cement itself as a multi-purpose cryptocurrency with enough merits to be the most important altcoin in the market. A few days ago, an independent developer known on Twitter as XRPTO_O managed to develop an iOS implementation that allows users to send XRP with simple voice commands. And the tweet is embedded here with an example of him doing it in a video. iOS jailbreak and development scene has been a bit quiet lately, however this has not stopped some developers from joining their passion for cryptocurrencies with the creation of software to facilitate the lives of users beyond what official apps have to offer. In a video, the user communicates with Siri through voice commands in a natural way and sends 0.5 XRP to a user that Siri found in its database. Although the video only shows money transfer, the developer has been adding several features over time. The app establishes a communication link between Siri and XRP Tipbot, making the app much more functional with every new release. Now, I'm gonna assume most people watching this probably know what XRP Tipbot is. XRP Tipbot is not quite an app, is a system that can be used to tip people in XRP, mostly for social media postings. You can integrate it with Twitter and Reddit, I believe. It might be integrated in other social media platforms as well. And you can send people small amounts of XRP. Usually that is sent as like a thanks for a good social media post. But you can just send people XRP directly as well. It's one in a wave of applications that are meant to facilitate something like a spirit of sponsorship on the internet. We're seeing that with BAT browser, which I'm using right now, at Brave browser, which integrates the BAT token. That is also meant in a similar way. A lot of people now want to use cryptocurrencies as a tool to easily support, for instance, content creators on the internet that they enjoy, by sending small donations one at a time. And XRP Tipbot is pretty big in the XRP sphere in doing just that. I don't think there's really an equivalent software that is being used to a similar extent in other altcoin spheres. But now someone has developed an application for iOS that can integrate with Siri, where you can use these voice commands now to just easily send XRP. That is one of the first applications of this kind. I don't believe there are any official apps out from any of the major voice assistants or major tech companies that let you easily send cryptocurrencies like this. This, of course, also not an official app, but you can now install this to your iPhone. You can now use Siri to just send someone money. You can just tell it, hey, send this person some XRP. That is, you might wonder, why is this interesting? This is just a small independent app. This is just a small independent developer who just played around with Siri a bit. This is interesting because it shows us how seamless crypto integration can be and how natural a use case, tipping someone a small amount of cryptocurrencies, in this case XRP, can become if it is just properly integrated. Now, I don't personally use voice assistants on smartphones. They're not my thing. I don't personally see the point, and I don't want a microphone to constantly be analyzing what I'm saying. But a lot of people use these. Millions of people use these every single day. Millions of people are used to just telling their phone what they want it to do for simple tasks, and sending XRP to someone to that list, especially when traditionally sending cryptocurrencies it's not complicated, but it's just like one tiny step too complex for a lot of people to feel it's natural. Because cryptocurrencies, you have those long addresses that you have to enter, that you have to send something to. You have to, for a lot of cryptocurrencies, you have to make sure you're sending a fee, that fee is big enough. A lot of people are always scared that the money might be going to a wrong address because it's such a long code. But just being able to tell your phone, hey, send 0.5 XRP to this person, that simplifies it in a way that makes it mainstream ready. I think we will need more applications like this, and more are coming, but it's nice to see the XRP community so dedicated that they just go out there and just in their free time develop something like this. And we're going to see this kind of integration in the core processes of a lot of major voice assistants and stuff in the future. We'll probably see traditional banking integrate this into their online banking apps and similar stuff. We will see this integrated into wallets at some point, but it's nice to see this definitely ahead of the curve. Now, this is not the very first time that someone has made a voice assistant transfer cryptocurrencies, but I believe this is the first time it was done with Siri, the first time it was done on an iOS device, and the first time it was done with XRP, and still one of the first times it was done in general. But moving away a bit from XRP and looking at Whipple, because Whipple, of course, are developing an international massive network of partners through their WhippleNet, through Xcurrent, Xrapid, Xvia, through all their software suites, through their blockchain products, to establish an international network for liquidity for monetary transfers that is growing larger and larger and putting more and more pressure on the traditional financial world. And now we have American Express, who are, of course, working with Whipple, making some very positive public statements. Whipple is a fintech which focuses on using blockchain technologies to facilitate financial operations via traditional means, appears to be bearing positive results. Not only has XRP established itself as the most important altcoin in the global market cap, this is literally the second article on this website that phrases it like that, probably the same author, but the company and its services continue to receive praise from significant players in the world of finance. Speaking at the Wings of Change Europe conference in Madrid a few days ago, Carlos Carrero, I probably mispronounced that, I'm very sorry, General Manager of Corporate Payment at American Express, explained that Whipple has the potential to improve the way payments are traditionally processed around the world. Can we just talk about like the hubris involved in calling this Wings of Change? This is just such a ridiculous name for a finance conference. This is a fintech, this is a finance conference. The change that they're doing is making more money for rich people. Wings of Change sounds like it's a humanitarian thing that improves the world for the better. No, this is a conference for rich people to become more rich. I just love how they name stuff like that. But let's look at his actual quote. Blockchain is absolutely an option we're looking at. Just to give you a sense, we have invested in a fintech lab based on a blockchain technology just to understand how to leverage this better. We did a pilot, we did a test partnering with Santander locally and with Ripple to just do cross-border transactions. Cross-border transactions continue to be complex and slow, and in a matter of seconds, through this test, our clients were able to transfer funds in a very transparent and seamless way from one part of the world to the other one. That is a very, very enthusiastic statement here. He's essentially saying that that Ripple's technologies are above and beyond what they traditionally had. In spite of the enthusiasm, Mr. Carrero was emphatic in mentioning that there are still some aspects that need to be appropriately addressed before it is possible to talk about a massive implementation. However, he is convinced that there is a great potential in Whipple technology. And another quote, "There is more to come. There's still a lot of things that need to get addressed with blockchain as a technology, but it's very promising. The future is definitely digital. Digital is the way payments will continue to be across both the consumer part of the business, the commercial part of the business." And we don't really need to read the rest of this, but you see here a representative, a very important representative of one of the biggest financial companies in the world. American Express, along with Visa, are the two biggest credit card companies, credit card processors, payment processors in the world. Now saying that Ripple's technology is so much beyond what was traditionally possible that they move international monetary transfers, cross-border transfers, from being slow and from being clumsy to being instant and seamless. That is a huge statement in favor of Ripple's technologies. That is essentially the traditional financial world saying, hey, these new companies, Ripple here, blockchain, way better than anything we've had before. And this is very, very promising to me. This is just seeing them openly say things like this. Because, you know, when we hear about a new partnership, like American Express using Whipple, you never know how long-term that will be. A lot of times that can be a trial run, and if after a couple of weeks or months they figure out it doesn't really work that well, they will just split apart again, they will stop working together. But here now, after months of working together, to still have them publicly saying such positive things about Whipple, that is looking like they're planning to be working together for a long, long time. like they want to develop together, like they want to continue using Ripple's technologies for more and more in the future. I think Whipple and their technologies, their RippleNet technologies, their XCurrent, XRapid, XVIA, and their XRP token, which can be used for all of those and is always used for XRapid, that looks like a very bright future, and like they will be putting a lot of pressure on the traditional finance world. Now, American Express is feeling that pressure, and they're dealing with it by working with Whipple. But they're also putting pressure on another company, or an association rather, and that company is dealing with it in a very different way. Swift. Swift, of course, is where most traditional cross-border financial transfers go through. It's a 45-year-old system. It is incredibly slow. It can take 2 or 3 days. Well, it always takes 2 or 3 days, and it can take weeks for a financial transfer to go through. If you're trying to send money on the weekends, well, you are simply out of luck. If you want to send financial transfers without paying a ridiculous fee, well, you are simply out of luck. If you want to send to a country that doesn't have a well-established financial world, well, sucks for you. That will cost, that will take time. Well, they are, of course, under immense pressure now from companies like Ripple, who are trying to get a piece of their market away from them and seem to be succeeding. The Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication has announced its decision to launch a pilot global payment initiative service, which aims to compete with the growing threat of competing blockchain and fintech solutions provided by institutions like Ripple, JP Morgan, and TransferWise. Still in its initial stages, the ambitious pilot aims to build the foundation of a new integrated and interactive service that will significantly improve efficiencies in the payment process and which will ultimately be made available to all 10,000 banks across the SWIFT network. We don't really need to look into the rest of this because there's not that many information. Well, this Swift GPI thing, this has been in the works for a while. Important to note, it is still preliminary, it is not completed yet, while if you're looking at Ripple's technologies, they pretty much have everything they need now. They're waiting for like regulatory compliance and stuff like that, but technologically, everything is there. They just need to build some more infrastructure, they need to build more spaces of liquidity, they need to establish more partnerships, and they need to wait for some regulatory stuff. But Swift hasn't even fully developed their technology yet, because they're so far behind. And this GPI, a lot of people think this will be the Whipple Killer. But if you actually look at what it does, and this is hilarious. In their own advertisements for this, they are proudly displaying the fact that 50% of transfers are settled in under 30 minutes. Do you know what happens on Ripple's networks? 100% of transfers are settled in under 1 minute. Swift is proud of being slightly less bad than they were before, but it's still nothing compared to the actual competition, and this is supposed to be the Whipple Killer? Their technology isn't even ready yet, and even when it will be ready, it will already be outmatched by Ripple's technologies and by similar blockchain-based technologies. Because there, 50% of transactions happen in under 30 minutes. Wow. That is still slow. That is way faster than the 2 days that it currently takes, but that is still slow. And if only 50% happen in under 30 minutes, that makes me wonder how many of them still take hours or days to process. Honestly, in 2018, 20 years after the internet has been established as a major force in the world, no financial transfer should ever take more than a couple minutes. You're just moving data across the internet. That is all you actually have to do, or across a blockchain. We have all the technology to do that, but these traditional finance monopolies, because that is what Swift is. Swift is a monopoly. Swift is a network that had pretty much the entirety of the market, and because of that, for the past 45 years, they didn't have to innovate. They never had to improve their products. And now that Ripple is here, that Stellar is here, that other blockchain products are here, that other fintech companies even outside the blockchain world are getting better solutions ready. They are now feeling the pressure. And they're trying and they're failing to keep up. Swift GPI, yes, it's faster than what they had before. It is a massive step up. But it is, before, they were 45 years behind. With Swift GPI, they will still be 10 years behind. And they have an advantage, and that is that they already have an established network. But even if they get that established network to use Swift GPI, which, yes, significantly faster, it is still way slower, way more expensive, way more work intensive, and less secure and less transparent than Ripple's technologies. So what do you think will happen when all these banks have a choice? They can continue working with with Swift's slightly less slow than before technologies. Or they can switch over to RippleNet, to Xcurrent, possibly even XRapid, which is faster, which is cheaper, which can do these transfers automatically without needing a person to be there, which can do it on weekends, which can do it to any country in the world once the system is fully established. Instant liquidity. What are they going to do? What are they going to do when they see some banks that have already adopted Ripple's technology being able to offer transfers, being able to offer their services to their customers at a lower price because they have to pay less for their transfers? What happens when the banks that are working with Ripple can offer monetary transfers for a minimal cost and they only take seconds? And when they're still stuck with Swift and they have to charge their customers a couple dollars for every transaction. And those transactions will most of the time still take 30 minutes plus. What do you think will happen? I'm going to tell you what happens. This is a market. And what happens in markets is that the superior product has an advantage. And what the inferior product then does is try to catch up. And how can they catch up? By also working with Ripple. Swift is struggling under the pressure that they're now receiving from newer technologies. And it's going to take a while until we really see Ripple and similar fintech companies and similar blockchain-based technologies. It will take a while until we see them really make a cut in this. And I don't think Swift is going to die. That is not going to happen. Swift will definitely lose its monopoly in the next coming years now. Once all the regulatory issues are cleared, and that is a matter of time. Once more of an infrastructure is built up, that is also only a matter of time because we see new partnerships pretty much every week. Once more payment channels are established for Ripple and for other similar products. Once we see more centers of liquidity. Once we see the first couple banks that are working with it publicly talking about how well it is working. Once we see them cutting their prices for the consumer. Other banks will need to follow up because what happens when one bank offers the same service cheaper and faster and the other bank is more expensive and slower? Customers are going to move over to the cheaper bank that uses Ripple. And what then happens? Other banks will also move over to that so they can offer the cheaper services. Swift is not dying. A lot of people are saying Swift is dying. It's not. But Swift is cracking. Swift's monopoly is dying. And we're going to see a few new companies emerge. I don't think any one company is going to control international liquidity, international monetary transfers. No one company is going to do that. But what we're going to see is Swift is going to lose its monopoly because they've had 45 years to improve and they didn't. So now, because they were lazy, because they felt secure in their position, because they didn't have direct competition for almost 45 years, they got lazy, they didn't pay attention. They didn't keep up with the times, and now they're going to suffer for that. And what is going to happen is we're going to see multiple companies emerge in that space. And it's not just going to be Swift, it's going to be Swift, and it's going to be Ripple. And probably some people are also going to be using Stellar. And we're probably going to see other startups, we're going to see other blockchain products. And they're all going to have a slice of the pie. And that is going to democratize that market. That is going to ultimately be better for everyone because you don't want a monopoly. A monopoly is bad for everyone except for the company that has that monopoly. But we're going to see massive change here. And we're seeing the first effects now by Swift trying and failing to launch a product that can take on these newer technologies. We can see Swift just squirming under the pressure here. Because this Swift GPI, this is not up to the same level as the products that they're actually competing with. And it's not even done yet. And they're trying to push it out. And they will push it out there. It will go to a lot of people. And it will make their technology superior. But superior Swift is still inferior to Ripple, to Stellar, to all those other things that are coming up. And we will see so much change. And I'm so excited to see this because, I'm a big XRP supporter. I'm also a Swift. Not a Swift. I'm also a Stellar supporter. I don't think there's only space for one. And I'm also an OMG supporter, Omisa Go, which is also doing similar things. I think there's space for all of them. I think they can work with different companies. They can do different monetary corridors. I don't think there's space for only one. I'm excited to see this new world where Swift is just one of multiple players. And Swift is gonna be around. Swift is established, Swift is owned by the banks. As long as they can keep it around, they will keep it around. There will probably always be some banks, some payment providers. They will continue improving their technology a bit to make it closer to what Whipple and other companies can develop. But Swift is gonna be smaller. And in that space that will then be freed up, you will see companies like Whipple emerging. And once they get people using XRapid with the XRP token, that will mean so much money flowing through the XRP blockchain. That will mean the value of that token going up so damn much. I hope you bought some XRP while they were cheap, because this future is looking very, very interesting. Now, something could always go wrong, stop this from happening. But as it looks right now, Swift is showing us their cards, and they got like a pair of threes. And Whipple is showing us their cards, and they have a full house. And that is how it's going to be for now. Anyway, I just wanted to get you guys updated on what is happening in the XRP, in the Whipple world, and by extension, in general, cryptocurrencies that are dealing with cross-border transfers. And I hope this was interesting to you guys. As always, you can find all the links in the description. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe first of all. And there are ways to support me in the description monetarily, but if you don't want to or can't give me any money, I would really appreciate if you just left a like or a comment on this video. I know everyone on YouTube asks you to do this stuff, but that is because it's really important. The kind of difference that 10 comments or 20 comments can make. That is the difference between YouTube showing your video to 5,000 more people or not. That is the difference between a channel making it or not. So if you could leave a comment or a like under my videos, especially if you can make that a habit, it is so incredibly appreciated. You're really helping me out. Anyways, I'll be back with another video either later today or tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon.